Hello and welcome to the Feminine Subconscious podcast. I'm so excited to have Gigi Hunt here with me today. I found her and was just so excited because cycle syncing and cycle alignment is such a powerful concept. And so I'm going to just introduce her and then we'll get into the conversation. Gigi is on a mission to help women reclaim their energy balance and their hormones and structure their lives and businesses in sync with their cycles so that they can thrive without burnout. Through her signature intuitive flow and aligned flow programs, she blends science, spirituality, and strategy to help women optimize their well being, productivity, and success. Whether you're an entrepreneur looking to scale with ease or simply wanting to feel good all month long, Gigi's going to show you how to use your cycle as your superpower. She's a mom, a homeschooling mom. She's a registered nurse. She's a cycle alignment coach, mom, and friend, and daughter, and all the things that women wear as hats in this world. And just so excited to be with you today, Gigi. Is there anything else you want to add to this introduction?
I think you did a pretty great job. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm so excited that we connected.
Yeah, well, I have this client who's really into this and she runs $1 million company and she has been learning about this and it has been so empowering for her to schedule meetings, schedule presentations, her live events. She does this all around her cycle and there's so much more balance that she's finding and she's really one of the ones that introduced me to using it as an entrepreneur. But since then, a few years ago, I learned about this. And since then, it's just been really cool to. I work with Maya Rose Rogers, who also teaches this, and we've taught it at some of our events, but it really is life changing for women. So, yeah, how do you help women to work with their cycles and to feel more balanced?
Yes, absolutely. So, my journey really started, like I stumbled actually across cycle alignment coincidentally. Like I didn't even know it was a thing. And once I discovered it, something inside of me was like, we all need to be doing this. Like this is top-notch self-care. It's a health hack, right?
Yeah.
So what I do is I walk women through the process of really intuitively understanding their body and what they need through each phase of their cycle. I do this by blending the science as my background in registered as a registered nurse. That's my background. I am very into the science. Like I need to know what's going on so that I can understand. But also I understand that it's a bigger picture, right? It's not just the science part, but the spiritual aspect, the energetics, everything. Each of the phases of our cycle with it brings a different, call it like personality. And when we start learning to harness the superpowers that each of our cycle brings, yes, each of them, even like the luteal phase, even the menstrual phase, each of these phases bring a superpower with them that once we learn to harness and really work with them, it just helps us flow with so much more ease, so much more grace and just fulfillment in our lives, and really helps with burnout, with overwhelm, with stress, because we're meeting ourselves where we are in our physical body as well.
Yeah, and one of the things that makes me think of is how we've done things in the masculine for so long, right? And the Gregorian calendar and the way that we see time, it's very masculine. And even the way that we've built businesses and we handle money, because really there's very few women on the planet that have ever made large amounts of money, right? So this is kind of a new thing and it's natural to like model after what has worked in the past, but it's all been in the masculine. And what happens is it's so exhausting when we do things in the masculine and we don't honor our bodies and our flow. So before we go into more of this part, let's go into the basics of what are the four cycles, the four luteal phases, I mean, the four phases of the menstrual cycle. And do you want to just go through each one of them and kind of talk about the superpowers of each one?
Yes, absolutely. So I like to look at the cycle of as our, I like to look at our menstrual cycle just like I look at the seasons of the year. Mostly because then I remember, right? We all know where you live, right? You have 4 seasons. Just like those 4 seasons that reflect what's going on, we have that inside of us. We have that internal um, season cyclical nature. So in our menstrual phase, which is our inner winter, it is the first phase of our menstrual cycle starts on the first day of our bleed. Usually our energy is at its lowest, right? We are just more introspective. During this time, our intuition is at its peak. So if you are going through something throughout the month, this is a great time for you to journal on it, to meditate, to really sink deeper because the answers will come to you a lot quicker and with a lot more ease. You'll have a lot more clarity, right? It's a time of deep rest, just like out in nature during the winter, the animals are hibernating, everything looks, might appear like it's dead, but we know that it's not, right? There's a lot going on. So
The
I think,
shedding, right?
yes, the
Letting go
shedding.
of the old and
Hmm.
letting things die that don't serve you.
Hmm.
Cool.
And yeah, and just like, so physically, right, we're shedding the uterine lining. So because we didn't have a baby, right? We're not gonna be growing a baby. So our body needs to shed that lining because it's not being used. Just like in nature, birds, once they use their nest for their little eggs, after that season is done, after those eggs hatch, they don't reuse it. They go and use a whole new one. So it's kind of the same way. We're shedding physically what's no longer needed. Just like that, we're shedding spiritually and energetically all the things that we have accumulated throughout the month, right? So that's why it's a really important time for deep rest, introspection. This is also considered like the new moon phase, right? New beginnings is a great time to, you know, shed, release, let go, and prepare for the cycle ahead,
That's
right?
cool. It's really what I've heard before is that it's the season of no. It's the season of slowing down and letting yourself rest. And
Mhm.
also, it's a time when literally our brains have more connections between the left and right hemisphere of the brain. And so, like you said, it's a time of intuition, of communication, of getting like communicating what's not working or what you want. And it's really a really cool, like if we can settle into that season, that time period of the month, we can have so much more, yeah, success, flow, relaxation. Like, and
Mhm.
and Gigi, you were saying at the beginning how some people are like, just what was it, like power through the blood phase, you
We
know?
could do anything on our
Yeah.
bleed. We can.
We,
Doesn't mean we have to, and we should.
yeah, like what if you allowed yourself to say no and
Yes.
allowed yourself to rest? And yeah, we can do it, but it's at the cost of our adrenals and of not giving us ourselves that space, so at the risk of burnout. And I think that is such a masculine, like you can do anything, like yeah, you can, but when you don't honor the cycles, then it doesn't end up working out, right? If you don't honor the season and you're like, I can plant seeds in the middle of the winter, like yeah, you can, but they're just not going to grow. you know
Exactly. Exactly.
yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
Oh,
That, oh my gosh, that was perfect. That is a perfect analogy right there. Yeah, because you can, yes, but like that's not the season. And we're all very cyclical in our bodies, nature, history, it's all cyclical, right? So let's embrace the seasons because we get more when we do. For instance, I had one of my very first cycle alignment client when she realized she's, boss babe, work hard, business entrepreneur, owns her own business. When she realized that resting during her menstrual phase meant that she came back stronger, more vibrant than ever in her follicular phase, it changed the game for her. It really put it into perspective. Because what happens is, yes, we can do anything during our bleed. We are women, we can do anything. However, you risk burnout. Now, by the time you get to your summertime, when it's like, oh, you're like dead, you're like, oh, well, oh, I'm tired, you know? So
Yeah.
brace yourself, brace yourself.
Yeah. So what are some rituals or some things that we can do during our winter, during our bleed that we can take care of ourselves? Or what are some rituals that you teach or that you do for yourself?
Yeah. I think that I feel like everything is a holistic approach, right? There's not just one thing, and just because something works for me doesn't mean that it's going to be the same for you. But overall, I really feel like prioritizing self-care during this time, rest, naps, maybe waking up a little later, warm foods, iron-rich foods. In Ayurvedic medicine, they really um, enforce that, during this time, your body needs warm soups, warm teas, herbs are very important during this time too, to just support your body through plant medicine, right? Some things that you can do for your own mindset, your own growth spiritually, journaling,
Yeah.
setting intention for the next cycle. It's like a whole new year every month. We get a whole new year every month, basically. It's that energy.
Yeah, and how amazing. So, this next phase that we're talking about, the spring, as you go into the spring, let's talk about it's the follicular phase, right?
Correct.
Okay. So, how would you describe the follicular phase?
So the follicular phase is fun. It's most people's most favorite season because we're coming into springtime. Like right now, it's spring, right? The flowers are blooming, the leaves are coming out. You start feeling internally, your estrogen is rising. So you start feeling like that fresh energy. You're ready to go, right? You're like, oh, this is good. Like, oh, I'm back to feeling like myself. We say that, you hear that. Um, this is a great time to start experimenting with new routines, maybe a new project. You get all of these ideas because internally that's what's going on in your body, right? You start planting the seeds that you're going to sow later on. This is why I also think it's very important in your follicular phase to be very mindful of your nutrition, right? Because the way that you eat during your follicular phase is going to determine how you feel during the late part of your luteal phase and into your menstrual phase.
Wow. I feel
Yeah.
like this phase is like, I think almost I'm so grateful that I'm not bleeding, that I'm like, oh, okay, like, oh, this is amazing. Like I have this new freedom. And also just the testosterone and the estrogen are increased at this time, right? And so we just have more energy and more vitality and stuff in this phase. So I love this phase too.
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
we're going into this in the season right now, right? But
Right. And everyone loves spring. Like, who doesn't love spring? Like, everything is springing. It's like a whole, like, when you've been in winter and you know what happens when you're in winter, it feels like forever. That's why people think that January is 3 months in one because it's dark and, it's like very inward and introspective and dark, right? So when we're emerging from that, it's like a whole new world. Sorry, my singing skills aren't great, but you know what I'm saying? Like it's very high vibe. Okay. So during this time, it's a great time, like I said, to try out new things, try out new projects. Um, Ever since I started aligning with my cycle, and this is what I recommend with my client, is try something new. This is part of self-care,
Mm.
right? Self-care isn't just bubble bath and manicures and pedicures. It's also those things that push your edges to expand you, to help you to grow. During your follicular phase, that's the best time to do that, right?
Yeah, especially because the creativity, I think, is the highest there, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
the creative zone of whether it's the estrogen or the testosterone or whatever it is that makes you for some reason our brains are the most creative in this time, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So we are feeling the most creative. This is a great time for us to usually for me personally, my favorite time to plan my month is during my follicular phase. I don't follow the usual beginning of the month thing. Like I set my month up for the next month with my big projects, stuff like that in my follicular phase, because that's when I am at my peak in terms of setting new goals, visualizing success, scripting that I'm going to, you're more high vibe, like I mentioned before. It's a great time for manifestation and brainstorming and stuff like that. So definitely a great season. It's a great season.
Yeah. And really setting yourself up for the next 3 weeks, right?
Correct, correct,
Yeah.
correct.
That's
Yeah.
so then we go into oh, what are some rituals or some things that you would recommend doing during this phase other than just creating and playing?
Yeah, creating, playing, starting something new. For example, some things that I have done during my follicular phase is that I'm not a runner, but I committed myself to running a marathon. Now I'm training to run. I don't run, but it felt fun and exciting, and I could do that, right? And it's little by little, not like I'm gonna go from 0 to 100. The run isn't until like November, but I decided during that time. I also decided to incorporate tea blends into my offers during this time. It was a follicular phase idea that came to me, and I was like, oh, yeah, this is juicy. I love this. Right. So, definitely just setting some new goals, setting some new intentions, trying something new. If you have a new cardio workout that you want to try, some kind of dance class, something that is going to challenge you and push your edges is a great form of self-care during this time.
To start those kind of things. Yeah,
Yeah.
setting goals and then also like if I were running a big company, I would even plan my brainstorming sessions during
Mhm.
that week, right?
Correct.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, so we move into summer, the ovulatory phase. So tell us about that.
Summertime. Who doesn't love the summer? That's when
I
we're right. That's when we're barbecuing. Everybody's at the beach. We're social, high vibe. We're magnetic. We are the most magnetic during this time. We are the most understanding. So having hard conversations during your ovulatory phase is the best,
do.
right? Because that rise and peak in estrogen, it's like our bonding hormone, right? We are more empathetic to others. We're more understanding. Very, very, it'll be much harder for us to snap during this time, right? Because we're just naturally just feeling so good. It's summertime. We're having fun. So, during this time, it's a great time. Like if you have a launch, scheduling it between your follicular and ovulatory phase, right? If you have an event that you have to host, like you were talking about your client, like these are the things that you want to be doing. High vibe activities, basically. High intensity workouts, dance, running, doing like things to that help you to be seen, right? Because that is part of self-care, expressing yourself, glowing up, like showing who you are. That's part of self-care too.
Yeah.
So it's a fun time. It's a fun
It's
time.
like I always just think of it as the sexy time. Like it's like when you can strut your stuff, you don't mind everyone's looking at you, you feel sexy, you can have those like romantic evenings, you can have it's when you're ready to have a baby with someone, right? Like you're like
Hmm.
I just so open and so
Hmm.
alive and your skin's glowing. And if you're going to do a photo shoot, do it during this week, right?
Yes,
Like you're
yes.
going to be on stage, try and schedule it on this week. Like it's such a cool phase of our month. So I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fun time. However, it's a fun time and it's a great time, but it can't be summer all the time. And summer only lasts for about 48 hours.
Ah!
So there's that.
There's that. Oh man. And a little 2 days on either side of a little bit more, but I mean, we give it a week in the on the calendar, but it's actually not right. Like the peak of it is 48
Mm-hmm.
hours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what do you recommend for that period? Like, and maybe the space in between, but what are some rituals?
I feel like rituals that surround confidence, like confidence boosting affirmations, wearing your power outfit, like whatever it is that makes you feel magnetic, sexy, amazing, you look the best during this time in your head, you vibrate that magnetism. So that's what you're sending out. So that's what others will see, correct? During this time, it's also really good to take bold action. Do the things, do them scared, but do it anyway, right?
This is
Yeah.
where courage comes in. Just like be the most courageous and do the things that scare you the most.
Yeah.
Yeah, and really like giving yourself grace that when you're in winter, like if you don't feel like you're wanting to be courageous, just know that the time's coming when you can be
Mm,
courageous. And I love that it gives us compassion for ourselves and like honoring our bodies and our cycles and not pushing ourselves. Like imagine being trying to be in summer when it's winter, like it just actually makes you miserable, right?
it's not gonna work.
No, yeah. And sometimes I'm like, oh, like I read a book or I'm like, I need to be courageous. I need to just go do it. But there's this like total overwhelm at the thought of it. But just knowing, oh, that's coming in a couple weeks. I'm going to be able to do all those things that are like just feeling overwhelming to me right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? Like we're cyclical in nature and we've gotten so far from understanding that we think that if we aren't feeling our best now, like that's how it's going to be forever. But it's not. And that's one of the reasons I feel like cycle alignment work is so important because it helps us to honor where we are in each season and be more present to what is happening with more grace, with more self-compassion, you know?
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
the greatest fears of the human psyche is it's not going to end,
Yeah.
right? Like that you'll be stuck in something forever. And you just aren't, especially women. Like we're yeah, it we change by the minute. I was reading the feminine the female brain and it was talking about how just in a day the hormones and the way that certain areas of the brain will change up to 20% just in one
Mhm.
day. Like we're a very cyclical species.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, yeah.
Absolutely.
So let's dive into the fall. I love that the alignment with the seasons because it helps you remember. It's such a great way to teach this concept. So I think it's luteal next, or what is
Yeah.
with the wind?
Ludio. Well, I call it ludio, but
Okay.
I have learned that a lot of the ways that I say stuff might not be the way that some people say it, but I have an accent. I'm from the Caribbean, so sometimes my accents are different. But yeah, we're entering into the luteal phase, which for some people it is the worst. But I have learned that embracing this phase is such a beautiful energy. So the luteal phase, I like to break it down into two parts, right? The first week and the second week. Very simple. But during the first week, you're kind of getting down from the high of the summer. And you know how it is, September, October, it's still kind of like warm, right? Like you're still kind of like, okay, like we're still hanging out, we still have some energy. This is the time for you to start planning and prepping for the winter time. Okay. So decreasing commitment levels, right? Like it's time to start organizing, setting some boundaries. I know you talked about boundaries before. And we actually want to start setting those boundaries during the luteal phase, the first week of the luteal phase, because that is when our body is naturally geared to setting these boundaries and upholding them. Because by the time the menstrual phase and you're trying to set boundaries in your menstrual phase, you're going to sound irrational and hysterical to people on the outside, although inside you seem calm. because that's just what's going on. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard it called the queen phase, like the phase where we step into this like organized delegating, receiving, like slowing it down, not being the warrior anymore of just getting
Mhm.
stuff done, or the temptress where we're just like flirting and having fun and playful. It's just this queen energy where you get downloads from the universe and
Yeah.
plan, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And a time to like prepare, right? A time to tie up loose ends. We're nearing the end of the cycle.
Mm,
So, what do we need to do to prepare for our new beginning?
mm,
I really think it's important to nourish ourselves, so important during this phase. Um, Understanding our cravings, eating grounding foods like veggies, root vegetables, sweet potatoes, things like that. Magnesium rich food. Magnesium gets depleted very quickly during this phase, and magnesium is important for almost everything that our body has to go through. So if we are ensuring that we are sufficiently getting the nutrients, very important. This is the time also to start slowing down on your activities. This is not the time to go hard at the gym. That was in the summertime. It's time to start winding down, winding down.
yeah, amazing, eh? And I'm sure this has so much to do with diet and the way that you can coach people around how to eat, how to sleep, how to just show up energetically, the rituals. But yeah, in winter, I mean, in fall, what rituals would you recommend other than magnesium and
Yeah, and eating grounding foods. Definitely slowing down with the movements. Getting into that deep, like deep inner work. Um, Shadow work is a good time during this time because we're nearing to that time when our intuition is peaking. I love letting go rituals during this time. What no longer serves you, it's time to let it go. So I use my different phases to really like evaluate my life, right? And that's what I encourage. This is the time for you to sit down and think, okay, so what went really well this phase, this cycle, I'm sorry. What went really well? What do I need to do? Like maybe I scheduled too many things during the early luteal phase and now I'm like gasping for air to try to keep up, or I did too much, right? There's a good time to also process your emotions of your life and what's going on. I always said that like we keep repeating these patterns every month, every year, and we don't realize that our body naturally gives us opportunities to kind of like process and
yeah.
let go.
Yeah, I was thinking it's like such a great phase to kind of shave off what's not working or letting go of that. And I love the process of just looking at my three wins, two things that didn't work and one thing I'm going to do differently. It's a great time of the month to do that kind of thing, and just go, okay, what worked this month and what
Mhm.
have I been, how's my body feeling, how's my business going, how are my relationships, and what didn't work, and
Mhm.
what am I going to just let go of, and what am I going to do differently as I move into this. And that's really when you go into winter where you're like, no, I'm a no, because I decided that, I looked at that, I saw what I was letting go of, and I'm a no to that now.
Yes.
Right. So
Yes.
then we come back into winter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So beautiful.
Really amazing. How do hormones, like, just we've talked briefly about, I brought up a few of the hormones that are involved, but hormones it's crazy when as a nurse, like about way more than I do about it, but it's just the physiology and the effect of hormones on our minds and on our bodies is so huge. And I don't think that women giving ourselves enough compassion
Yeah.
or each other enough compassion. I have a teenage daughter, and it's right in my face, like, oh, these hormones are real.
Raging.
And yeah. And when she first got her period and right before, it was just like this crazy whirlwind of a human, you know,
Mhm.
and and learning about it, I think the greatest gift for me has just been compassion for myself. But yeah, to talk to us a little bit about the hormones and the effect on all of this.
Yeah, I think that's really, really important because we are in this meat suit, right? This is our body, and there's things going on that no matter how much mindset work you do, if you don't work with the body, it's gonna be hard. It's
Yeah.
gonna be real hard. So there are four main hormones, four key players, right? And if you guys are listening out there, I actually had someone that I talk about this, and I realized that she didn't know what hormones were. Hormones is a very trendy word, right? You always hear people like hormones, hormones, hormones. But what are hormones? What do they do? What does that even mean? So hormones, I like to explain it the simplest way is these are chemical messengers that tell your body what to do,
Mhm.
right?
It's great.
Communicates from your brain to like all the things, right? So let's talk about estrogen, which is the most, I mean, most common, right? I'm sure everyone, women, estrogen, it's like the two in one, right? You think about one, you think about the other. So this is the energy that the hormone that gives us our energy, the energy booster hormone. It peaks in our follicular ovulatory phase, right? It helps us to, like I said, feel more bonded, have more energy, feel more confident, have more mental clarity. It helps with our mood. We have more stable mood. It helps with our skin. You know, when in the ovulatory phase, our skin's glowing, our estrogen is at its peak.
Mhm.
At its peak. And you know, it also helps with things like collagen production. It helps with our bone strength, things of that nature. This is why it's very important that we ovulate, right? Because when we are ovulating every month, you know, of course, except if we are having a baby, or before we get to that stage where we're getting our period, or if we are post-menopause, it's so important for us to ovulate every single month because ovulating every single month helps future us. It helps decrease things like osteoporosis in our older age. It helps decrease things like Alzheimer's disease in our older age. And with the rise of birth control, and most of the time birth control, that's what it does, it stops ovulation. So you could see how the two would be in like disagreement with each other, right? But we talked about estrogen. Then let's talk about LH, the luteinizing hormone, which is what triggers the ovulation, right? It spikes right before ovulation, right before the egg is released. And it actually works with estrogen to boost, it's like they co-mingle to boost our fertility, to boost our libido, to help us to feel that magnetism that we feel during the ovulatory phase. We feel outgoing, we feel vibrant. Let's have that hard conversation, babe. This is the time, right? This is time to communicate with your partner about what's going to happen in the menstrual phase. I just had this conversation in my last ovulatory phase with my husband. Like, this is what's going to happen. But this is a great time to do that. Another key hormone is progesterone. Um, Progesterone actually rises in the first half of the luteal phase, um, but then it goes down in the second half. So there's like a lot of stuff going on in the luteal phase. That's why I like to break it into the two parts, right? So usually progesterone helps, it's like our chill hormone. It helps us to feel calm. It helps us to feel relaxed. It helps us to sleep better. It helps our mood to be stable. It helps us to be resilient and handle stress better. But when it dips,
Mm-hmm.
we get like, because it dips, right? The second half, we start getting cravings and it, you know, we have these symptoms of PMS. If we're not supporting our hormones to like rise, you know, in balance and go down and support it as it goes down, we're gonna start seeing those really harsh PMS symptoms. That makes sense?
Yeah, I've actually heard that women who have less boundaries tend to PMS more. I thought
Mhm.
that was interesting. Like there's just that if enough boundaries have been crossed, then PMS hits way harder. Or I think of progesterone is kind of like the queen hormone, where you're just like I don't know, you're calm, you're clear, you can delegate, you can communicate. It's very, but when it goes down, you go into like the opposite of the queen, which is kind of
Yeah.
PMSy and the disintegration of the feminine.
Yeah. And what happens is during that time, and this isn't one of the hormones that I was going to talk about, but cortisol and progesterone, they start getting at war with each other, right? And when our progesterone dips very quickly, our cortisol rises. That's why when we have no boundaries and we're stressed out and overwhelmed about the things, it makes us have those symptoms even worse,
Hmm.
you
That's,
know?
yeah, for sure. So
Yeah.
cortisol increases at the last part the um of the fall or yeah, luteal phase.
So progesterone, as it decreases, the cortisol has increases basically with it. So when we are high cortisol levels, which we get because of course life, right? Like
Yeah.
life is happening, we're stressed out. Um, Cortisol kind of like takes over.
So it's kind of peaking, like at the end of the luteal phase, the progesterone comes down, the cortisol kind of starts to come up, and then we go into our period. Like it's just right before we start bleeding, right?
Mhm, mhm. Which is why it's so important to give your body the rest that it needs, right? To give your body space. That system, that nervous system regulation work is of the utmost importance during your luteal phase because, that's when your cortisol levels could be at risk of rising even higher because progesterone is lower. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
So just some background. I have not known this stuff or been aware. And basically, every month, and I also have been terrible at tracking my period and knowing where I'm at in my cycle. And so every month it comes along, and I have this like the cortisol level, and I yell or I have a breakdown or and I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And then I get my period, and then I'm like, what the heck? I got my period. Like I'm completely dumbfounded every month that I have my period. And I'm like, okay, I've been doing this for 30 some years, like almost 30 years. I should actually have some sort of handle on this, but I haven't. And every time I'm like mad, like
Mhm.
when I'm bleeding, I'm like pissed. Like,
Mhm.
freaking men don't have to do this. I'm bleeding, like cups of blood out of me. I feel exhausted, like, and I'm mad, like I'm angry, and so I'm on this quest, like, how do I love my period? I've been wanting to do this for like 10 years, where I'm like, okay, I know this is not good. I want to learn, and I think maybe I'll like give myself permission to watch a movie on while I'm having my period or eat some chocolate or something, but it's just not doing it for me. Like I
Yeah.
really do want to. And I said this to someone a few months ago, maybe a year ago, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I love getting my period. Like I am so sad when I stop bleeding." And I'm like, "What the heck? I need some codes because I do not have them." But yeah, how do you help women to like I just from conversations like this, like it's so helpful to go, "Oh yeah, I your explanation of how it helps with Alzheimer's and with like all bone density, whatever, that it is a good thing." And I know that it's for a purpose, and it's wonderful that we are women. So help me with this. Help me with this, Gigi.
I love this. I love this because you know what? Like, you're not alone. And it's a lot of different factors that brought you to this point, right? Also, empowerment is key. And I like an understanding and awareness is key. I know what you're talking about. I've been there. Like, I'll get like wild and crazy 5 days before my period. And then my period comes and I'm like, oh, so that's what's happening. That's what was going on. Imagine if you can spot it from a mile away and before you even start getting the mood swings, etc., you already know, so you're already prepping, you already have your ashwagandha ready, you're taking your teas to help you feel calm and steady, you're eating the right foods, you know when it's coming. Sometimes just awareness is like next level, right? Like it's so empowering. That's the most common thing that I hear from women is it's so empowering to know what's going on in my body because then it's not a mystery.
Yeah.
Because we get mad because we don't know. We get confused. You know how it is with even with kids, right? If you're just doing, and you're not telling them what's happening, they get frustrated.
Yeah. And
It's
then
the
they have
same
the
thing.
breakdown, and you're like, what's wrong with you? It's like, oh, there was no setup for success.
No
I
setup.
think this is actually the code. I just got it. It's the luteal phase. It's not the menstrual phase. And I think what I've been doing is going, oh, I need to like treat myself well in the menstrual phase. But I'm still angry, but it's because I didn't set myself up for success in the luteal phase, right?
Correct. Correct. Yeah.
Ah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
really good.
And each phase kind of like helps the other. Like I was saying, and this is because I had a client that would tell me, she's like, during my follicular phase, I just feel so good that I just eat like shit. And then when the luteal phase comes around, that low, you're living off of caffeine and carbs or whatever, and that time comes around, the late luteal phase, you crash kind of late now, right? There's nothing you could really, I mean, really you could do something, but mostly you feel like there's nothing you can do. You feel out of control. You're already in the thick of it. So preparation is key. That's why it's so important to know what phase you're in, what your body needs, prep it, give it what it needs so that then it could give you what you need to not wild out during your late luteal phase.
No kidding. So, how do you track your cycle? Are there apps you recommend, or is there just a calendar? Like, how do you recommend just staying aware of this so that you can plan for success?
So I don't have a problem with apps. Apps are great. It's a great foundation, a starting point. But I really feel like the best is when you could grab pen to paper, or even if it's digitally, you know what I'm saying? Like on the computer, on the phone, and you can track, right? So I personally do bullet journaling for myself, and I have created a period tracker, a digital period tracker for my clients where they're able to track like when their period starts. Then you track each phase. So you know, like, okay, right now I am in my luteal phase. Um, these are the things that I want to be mindful of. These are the things I want to do so that when the next phase comes around, I think it also takes practice, right? You will probably need to consistently track for 6 to 9 months so that you could get a real good picture because not every cycle is the same, right? And understanding what's normal for you is also important because our menstrual cycle can range anywhere between 21 days to 35 days. That's
Yeah.
a big range, like, and
Yeah.
it's
So the
not
apps sometimes just aren't on, like they don't really track it well, right?
because, yeah, they don't have your body. So, for instance, like the app could say you're ovulating, but you're not. You have to know when you're ovulating. I actually did a training on this inside of my community on Facebook. When to know when you're ovulating. I did like five ways, five signs, right? There are ways that your body communicates with you. It could be that you have extra libido. Your libido goes up. You have that egg white consistency cervical mucus. If you're tracking with the stick, uh, uh, I the word evades me, but the little sticks that tells you if you're ovulating. Or you could take your basal body temperature, things like that. There's ways for you to know when you're ovulating. The app doesn't know what is going on with you. It is just guesstimating. So it could be off on what you could expect your period on one day, and the app is off. So now you're stressed and confused, and you don't know what to do.
I think this is such a huge point about just being a woman is in the masculine it's cut, like that's why they do all the medical studies on men's, like they don't do it on women because we're just like we're so unpredictable, we're changing all the time. And so the message is you have to get in tune with yourself.
Yes.
Intuition is our superpower as women, and we can look outside of ourselves for other people to tell us, but ultimately what a gift this is, that it's inviting us to be intuitive, to listen to our bodies, to touch ourselves, to figure out what's going on and feel into our own life and start following our own rhythms. And we can't have other people telling us how to do it. Like we have to do it ourselves. And it's about getting to know ourselves. And one of the events I put on is know thyself, love thyself. But I think that one of the biggest gifts and invitations of life is to know yourself, to really like I love the personality typing things and hypnotherapy and stuff, because you're going in and you're finding out what really is about you. And this is just another invitation to that. And I just love it so much. Yeah, it's and beautiful. So can you tell us, Gigi, how people can learn more from you, how people can get in touch with you, join your community? Yeah, how can people keep learning from you?
Yeah, so I have a free Facebook group. It's called The Bloody Truth Period Talk and Support Group.
Amazing.
It is so much fun. I love it there. There's almost like 5,000 women inside of this group. We're all learning how to really just get more in tune with our cycles and how to treat our bodies so that we can change the narrative of our period experience. Because here's what happens. When we create this disconnection from ourselves, things are going to start manifesting in our 3D world in the form of diseases, PCOS, endometriosis, painful periods. All of these things are because of a disconnection somewhere, right? It always starts in the spiritual. It always starts from within, and then, it manifests in the outside. So we are really, it's fun in there. We talk about all things period. We ask all kinds of questions. Um, any and everything that comes up around this, having unabridged conversations where we're not shaming. Some people don't know stuff because we're not taught stuff.
Yeah.
And it's okay to ask all the questions. So I invite you to join us inside of the space. And it's on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram at glowflow.with Gigi. I post a lot of educational content on psychoalignment, on just being more in tune with our own body. Because, like you said, I teach the things, but I don't teach the things from a lens of this is what's going to happen, but more of this is what could be happening. Maybe this is what your body's telling you. How do you listen to your body? What could this possibly mean? And then take it from there.
Amazing. Well, you're such a gift to the world, Gigi. Oh my gosh, like so grateful to what you're
Thank you.
doing. And I'm excited for people to get to know you more and to dive into what you're offering the world. And I'll put all the links in the chat, in the comments below, in the notes. And so check Gigi Hunt out. She's got so much to offer. And yeah, start just so one step at a time, learning about your body, trusting it, following your flow. And thank you so much, Gigi. This has been such a treat to be with you today. So
Thank you so,
yeah,
so much. I'm so grateful. Thank you for having me. This was such a great conversation.
yeah, so fun. Okay, bye for now.